taking action for you.
PULSEBEAT.
Hi, Betty Halliburton. I've been in the business for a long time. CBS was one of my jobs, and I'm an independent producer. There is this climate that we're in now. You talk about talent. What about the temperament? What is it going to take to cover the type of stories that we're covering now? What is it going to take for you to be calm? And when you need to walk away, when you need to speak up for yourself. There's a lot of Gen Zs and millennial reporters here trying to climb the ladder. Those off-record moments where you may have had to go to the restroom and say, let me shut the door and get myself together. What's the advice during the temperament of times that we are reporting in now?
I just rely on the fact that we're telling the truth. You know, it's like the truth is our North Star. So, of course you're going to get criticism. Of course you will. That goes with the territory. But as long as you are confident that you are telling the truth, then that's your sword and your shield to move forward.
50 years of excellence, 50 years of truth to power, 50 years of the National Association of Black Journalists doing what they have always done, and that is report what needs to be reported. And we are honoring the founders of this distinguished organization. Stay tuned.
What's happening in entertainment? From Tinseltown to the Big Apple, this is your weekly entertainment magazine with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
60 Seconds with correspondent Bill Whitaker.
Over the years at 60 Minutes, we have been in more. I got the job that fits me perfectly. I'm curious. I like to know stuff. What were you thinking?
I would like to stop.
This is why you're sitting here wearing this jumpsuit. I like talking to people. I like writing. I love travel. And you piece those all together and it kind of says journalism.
Hello. 50 years now, NABJ, something, a greeting concerning this wonderful organization, 50 years now.
50 years, you know how amazing that is? And how things have changed, progressed, grown over those 50 years. There's so many young people in here, so many people who are doing things that when I was coming along, there was one over here, one over there, maybe one over there, and now we are, I can't say thriving, but we are certainly making our voices heard.
And my last question, that we are under challenging times, and certainly CBS has been attacked by this president. And so is there something you can say, an insight giving us hope to know that truth will shine bright, especially when we're being challenged as media organizations such as CBS, which was really attacked by the president?
Look, I majored in history in college and in graduate school. And history will look, history will understand what is going on in this time. Our problem is that we are having to live through this time. I think that the main thing you have to do is what I was saying up here. It's like be true to yourself, know what you're here for, which is to inform and tell the truth. So it may not be easy. As a matter of fact, this is probably the most difficult time that I have seen in my career, but just got to keep doing what you're doing.
John C. White, he was a founder. He was number 4 on the list of the people to sign, but he was very 4 out of 44. He was number 4 on the list. Yes, and so he was proud to be a part of that. Every year we came and he put on that founder's pin. He was always proud to be a founder.
And I think in terms of the NABJ and these very challenging times, that we have a president that does not hesitate to speak his disdain for the media. And as proud members of this organization, founding members of this particular organization, is there any message you can pass on to young people who might be discouraged because of the way that media is being shamed in a way that is never been seen before, especially by the president of this country?
Use all the new tools and keep fighting the way we had to fight. I think it's a new fight, but it has to be just as intense as ours was 50 years ago, and just as consistent. We've got to keep up the work.
Yes, I agree with Charlotte. The challenge is different, of course, now than it was 50 years ago, but the challenge 50 years ago was serious at that point. We came together because we wanted to support each other, because we wanted each other to know that we had a family, you know, a family of journalists throughout the country that we could depend on if we needed the help, if we needed the advice, and if we needed the encouragement.
Something potentially that you know your husband would want communicated.
Well, not just I'm representing him. I think he is actually here in spirit, because I've kind of gone to some things and then I say, oh, he's here. But he would, like I said, he want these young people to continue to be consistent, to be yourself, to be truthful, to tell the stories that you know are true. Don't, because someone else is repeating negatives, you stay positive. You tell the stories, you tell what is true. That's what he would want to say, and that is not an easy task to do as a reporter. You've got to not just say what I know they'll like me to say this, but here's what is. Here are the facts. And so he would want people to stick to the facts.
Number 42, Sandra Dillard.
Now we stand on the shoulders of these founders, and they're either smiling from heaven above or they're sitting here this evening celebrating. What message do you think the ones who are smiling from heaven above would want spiritually for you to communicate as the former president to whoever is watching this concerning the National Association of Black Journalists during this 50th year of celebration?
It's a beautiful sight to see so many amazing African American journalists convening and coming together, one, to celebrate the founding of this great organization, two, to uplift each other. They, I believe, didn't know it would flourish and turn into these numbers. Even the founders who are with us said they had no idea it would become such an amazing organization. So I believe that our founding fathers and mothers are very proud to see this sea of amazing and brilliant and accomplished journalists who are having an impact on this world.
So we are tired and weary, they press on and say, no, we can do it this way, and it's better. It's always in excellence. Always in excellence.
PulseBeat.
If you like what we're doing, please tell a friend, or if you want to see what we've done again, go to PulseBeatGlobal.com. That's PulseBeatGlobal.com. You can also go to our PulseBeat TV YouTube channel and you can revisit what we're doing. And once again, you can tell everybody that we're doing something that is so exciting that they wouldn't want to miss it. Remember PulseBeatGlobal.com or the YouTube channel PulseBeat TV. Thanks for telling the world about it.
McNutt, and you're watching Pulse Beat with Greg Dunmore.
Happening. When you talk to people around the league, like they still expect, oh, week one, they kind of shrug their shoulders, like, yeah, he'll be a Cowboy. I don't know what the future holds beyond, but I just can't imagine that Jerry would understand that Mike is such a premier player, historical numbers early in his career, and yet we'd be in a situation of why didn't he trade him? Like Mina was saying, like, Cece, you've been saying it would make more sense logically, but logic doesn't always run parallel with Jerry Jones's thought process.
Kimberly Martin, you know, you are someone who is one of the people that are leading the coverage of the NFL. But as a woman, and we know that women do not play football on that level, how do you see the reception when you walk into a locker room and be able to cover the sport?
Oh, well, when I walk into a locker room, I don't feel any type of way. I don't feel like anybody thinks lesser of me. I think in the public, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, I think people tend to have comments like, you didn't play, why are you telling Swagoo, or why are you telling Ryan Clark, or this, that, and third, they don't know something. But I think when you've put in the work as a beat writer, as a feature writer, as a columnist, and now in this role at ESPN, the credentials speak for themselves. I can have an opinion even though I didn't play. And my relationships, I'm always talking to people, I'm in the know.
How would you inform a young lady getting into the sports media to find their confidence like you have?
So the confidence, the only reason I'm able to sit up here and tell Stephen A, hey, hold up, is because of the work. You got to grind, you got to put in the work, you got to, know the game, build those sources, and through that experience, you got to have some jobs, you got to have some sweat equity in the craft of journalism before you can go out there and actually legitimately have the confidence. If I just woke up one day and said, I just want to talk sports, I don't talk to nobody, I don't go to no games, I'm just going to sit in my living room and give an opinion, I wouldn't have the same confidence. I couldn't do what I do right now. So it's through the sweat equity of over a decade doing this full time.
And Monica, I know you play basketball at Georgetown.
My name is Monica McNutt. I am currently a sports commentator and basketball analyst.
How has the game changed over the years from the time you played to now?
Well, when you talk about women's sports in particular, Terrence, like it has taken off. The eyeballs, the attention, the merchandise, the energy, the social media presence. Like the girls are getting their bag, as they say, and I'm so thrilled to see that because I think for so long women's sports, basketball obviously being mine, was sort of an afterthought, and I don't think that's the case anymore. As we see that the WNBA is beginning to expand and is on the cusp of a new CBA. Salaries are going up, opportunities going up, interest is there, and it's good business to support women's sports.
Great, and it is great business to support women's sports. But the thing is, the support also comes from the media side. So how do you feel when you cover the men, the reception is as a woman walking into locker rooms, being able to have the one-on-one? Are they receptive, or do you still feel a little resistance?
I have never had any resistance or opposition to being in a locker room covering men's sports. I think for me, having been an athlete, if you can hoop, you can hoop, and game has no gender. And I think guys appreciate when you have done your research in terms of how you're carrying yourself in a locker room and asking, when they find out that you used to hoop, like they trust that you get it.
Their reception, the way they have welcomed me, the feedback that I get when people tell me like, yo, looking at you is like looking at me or where I want to be, or I'm so inspired by you, for whatever the reason may be. Like when I meet people, I'm like, I genuinely appreciate that and I feel that. So I've been very, very thankful.
The thing is that when women are in sports, a lot of time they're not taken seriously. What is your feelings on just the way that the players, especially from the male side, receive you when you go into the locker rooms and interview them?
I think the perception has changed a little bit. I know that in the past, because I've obviously been in this industry for a minute, in the past, I think a lot of women, and we've heard quotes from athletes, kind of discrediting women that cover the sports. But I think currently, and I actually like what Malika Andrews said yesterday on one of our panels, changing the perspective from it being a male-dominated industry to being a male-populated industry where women are still dominating in sports. So I think the perspective has changed, and I think that a lot of women, especially our analysts, our basketball analysts, Mina Kimes being a football analyst, have garnered a lot of respect in sports these days. So I think it's definitely shifted.
Okay, do you still feel that you have to be twice as good to get the same opportunity? It's kind of like we do when we talk about in race and different opportunities.
I think being a black woman, we definitely see that. I definitely think that we have a long way to go, but I still believe that because we are women that work really hard and we study We make sure that we're always ready. I feel like whenever it is time for us to perform, we're able to do that. We've always stepped up to the plate when we needed to, and at least the people that I work with on a regular basis, and that's been our message at NABJ this weekend when it comes to any of the women that have come up to us and talked to us about what they need to do, is just always be prepared and always be ready. And I feel like the majority of the time we are, and we've proven that we belong. So I think it's shifting, but we definitely have a long way to go.
All right, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Right here, ESPN, First Take, NABJ. This is Terrence J for PulseBeat.
PulseBeat.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-260-9240. That's 877-260-9240. Call now.
All aboard!
There's a new way to travel, and it's one of the oldest forms of transportation. Travel by train. Yes, consider traveling around the United States on Amtrak. Traveling by train is a lot less of a headache than taking a plane, and you'd be surprised how many places you can go on an Amtrak. And there's no passports or IDs needed. Find out how to get where you're going as soon as tomorrow by train. Call the Amtrak Travel Hotline right now. We'll book your trip and email your tickets within minutes. Skip the drive to the airport and skip the lines. Call right now to book your Amtrak reservations. We service most of the United States. Do something new. Travel by Amtrak today. Find out how to get where you're going as soon as tomorrow by train. Call the Amtrak Travel Hotline right now.
Call 855-827-5004. That's 855-827-5004. Again, 855-827-5004.
You ready to put your podcast on iHeartRadio? Yes, your podcast on iHeartRadio. What about Alexa, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Android, or iPhone? Plus live TV streaming. Get your podcast seen and heard all over the world. Call 313-868-6612. Pre-recorded shows are accepted to be archived. This is a WHPR distribution platform. Download the app from the App Store. Go to WHPRTV.com. Channels available for lease 24/7 on Roku, Fire Stick, or Apple TV. Coming soon, subscription and pay-per-view.
Also,
Block time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer R.J. Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM WGPR HD2. RadioWeCanSee.com.
PulseBeat.
Yeah, this is our Navy statue, and the four big statues outside of the soldiers and sailors are the Navy on the south side, artillery, infantry, and cavalry on the four different sides. And this has been told to me is the first post-Civil War statue that shows an African American as one of the combatants during the Civil War. And since the Navy has always been integrated since the very founding of the nation, he's in the Navy statue. And then you guys got to come back when we're open during the day to see the inside. One of the panels on the wall represents the emancipation of the slaves on the north side. So kind of the position of honor on a Union monument is going to be the north, and where it's going to face as well. And so as you would have walked in the front door on the north side originally, you would have come face to face with the Emancipation panel, which depicts, kind of a Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves, but it's also an empowering statue in that it shows an African American being handed his gun by Abraham Lincoln and taking an oath of loyalty as he's receiving his weapon to go fight for the Union. So it's all done by Levi Schofield, who is a Civil War veteran himself, a third-generation Clevelander, and a third-generation architect. He was a veteran of both the 1st Light Artillery and the 103rd Volunteer Infantry. So he's a guy that knew war and a real prominent figure in Cleveland history.
Schofield served as captain in the 103rd Ohio Infantry during the Civil War, taking part in several battles, including Perrysville and Chickamauga. After the war, he designed many public buildings and several monuments, including the Soldiers and Sailors Monument in Cleveland's Public Square, which he paid for entirely out of his own pocket as a tribute to Ohio's veterans.
And it's always been a very progressive city and a very abolitionist city. When there were 37 abolitionists arrested in Oberlin for a fugitive slave that they had helped get over to Canada, they were put on trial here in Cleveland, and I believe it was 1859, and 10,000 people came out on Public Square and protested against their arrest.
Involved were a group of Christians, a number of university students, a fugitive, and a group of people committed to returning the fugitive to his home. There was civil disobedience and cooperation between people of different races. No small thing considering this rescue occurred in 1858. In defiance of federal law, a town rallied to free a man who had been legally captured. But this group decided they just weren't going to take it. And they didn't.
They actually had the local guy who represented those abolitionists, Basil Spangler. He actually helped get the 2 federal marshals that came after the young man. He had them arrested and put in jail. They kind of negotiated with the federal government to get the abolitionists that were being held released.
Now, are you aware that Detroit, which would have been the last stop before Canada,
sure,
being the border between Windsor, Canada, and from freedom to slavery, so to speak, or vice versa, that did they have slavery in Cleveland as they did have slavery in Detroit?
So Cleveland, Ohio is always, it entered the Union as a free state, and is, always been that way. However, with the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, they were pursuing slaves up into Cleveland and taking them back into slavery.
In the late months of 1860, a young woman from Virginia escaped slavery while her master was away. By aid of the Underground Railroad, she made her way to the free state of Ohio and to the northern city of Cleveland, where she secured a job as a domestic servant. Though in a free state and in a city rife with abolitionists, the girl's freedom was far from secure. The Fugitive Slave Act, passed in Congress as part of the 1850 Compromise, provided the judicial framework for slave owners to reclaim enslaved people who had escaped to the free North. It made it the duty of every person, when called upon by an officer, to assist in the capture and return of any fugitive slave. It also made it a crime punishable by fine or imprisonment to in any way assist a slave seeking freedom. Quote, giving them even a crust of bread to save them from starvation was thus a criminal act. The girl's owner, William S. Goshorn, tracked her down and came to Cleveland to reclaim what he saw as his property. Early in the morning of January 19, 1861, accompanied by 3 deputy United States Marshals, Goshorn drove to the residence where the girl was employed. They surrounded the house, broke in the door, and seized her by force. The girl's arrest sent Cleveland society into pandemonium. Anti-slavery supporters massed outside the courthouse and the jail where the girl was being held. With 5 states already in secession, the case was quickly viewed as a test of whether or not the northern states would uphold their end of the 1850 Compromise and enforce the Fugitive Slave Act. Many argued that the court should defy the unjust law and free the girl. Others made it clear that such a decision would cast the volatile nation into civil war. The Cleveland Morning Leader, a radical Republican newspaper that chronicled the story, began to raise money to purchase the girl's freedom from Goshorn in an attempt to avert the crisis. A wealthy man, Goshorn appeared uninterested in the offer and seemingly saw the situation as an opportunity to exercise the Fugitive Slave Act. The case was quickly brought to trial. Anti-slavery supporters filled the tense courthouse, cramming into the courtroom, filling the stairwells and hallways, and massing outside. After days of litigation, the case was decided when Goshorn presented a $600 bill of sale to the court as evidence that he was the girl's master. Upon her own admission of escaping slavery, Judge Daniel R. Tilden found no option but to enforce the Fugitive Slave Act and return the girl to Goshorn. With Judge Tilden's ruling, violence dotted the streets of Cleveland. U.S. Marshals armed with truncheons escorted the girl through the tense crowds to the railroad station, where she was forced to board a train car bound for Virginia. A number of supporters could not tolerate what they saw as an outrage taking place in the free state of Ohio. A plot was hatched to rescue her. 2 men boarded the train at Ravenna. Armed with tools, they hoped to separate the cars at a scheduled stop in North Lima, where a crowd of men were waiting to restore the girl to freedom by force. Alerted to the danger, the conductor noticed the armed and angry crowd at the station and sped by without stopping.
And so she was only back in Kentucky for a couple of months before she was liberated and able to make her way back to Cleveland, where she settled and spent the rest of her life.
And how magnificent to see this masterpiece. And it does have a diversity showing an African American warrior with his patriots that certainly symbolize unity. I just wonder what Donald Trump would say about it.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah. This is a DEI statue. Yeah,
there
right?
you have it.
Yeah.
There you have it.
PulseBeat.